He was very cute.
He was very talented.
Yeah, he was.
Never, what did building this kid's playhouse in the backyard? Oh, God, 30 years ago. And I was building this thing to last.
With those faces.
And I knew his son Joe. And he came down there and he says, hey, mister, you got a permit for that? What'd you say? I talked to his son, Joe. He says, permit? He says, are you kidding me? He put 4 additions on that house. Never got a permit. The roof line just changed overnight. He says. And I quick went in and looked at the code and I said, that's a children's playhouse that is specifically exempt from the code, from the permitting process.
I know. My point is, so many buys in the future. They buy a property in the future. They, all of a sudden, they never see the property.
Yeah.
If it's more than a deal.
We have to wait until exactly 7 o'clock to start.
Where's one of them?
Oh, all right. Somebody on our street likes to hear it says.
I hear it says he's hoping for a large tractor, so. Well, doesn't it exist today or not? It does. Oh, well then, that's what brought about this whole thing.
Should probably turn that
Or
over.
take it out. He put it in. It wasn't his fault, though. It wasn't his fault.
Time for me to change my
Can't be Perry.
Is that you big fan?
Love them. Subway alumnus is what I would say. Subway alumnus.
No Perry's in this area.
You're kidding, really?
My husband's
Wow.
family.
See, when I want to impress anybody,
Even if they
I tell them my youngest more.
Yeah.
Where'd she go? Notre Dame.
House was existing.
True
his
statement.
family came from Ohio.
Notre Dame College.
So they raised.
Oh, yeah,
Built,
my
but they also had
husband's
some
family. came-
Okay, why don't we call ourselves to order here as soon as I turn on this little recorder? All right, I think I'm running. Zoning board for the village of Webster up and running. We have 2 items on our agenda tonight. We'll take care of a couple of administrative things before we do that. We have our meeting minutes in our package. We also have 2 items on the agenda. I know you've had that. I'll read the public, or the legal notice. 2 items, but we're not gonna speak right now. 37 Meadow, the owner is Todd King. He will be up first. I'm not gonna read his tax ID number. He's got an application to widen his driveway at 37 Meadow. He seeks relief from the current zoning regarding the width of driveways pursuant to Village Code 175-54H as it is defined. And then the second item on the is 9294 South Avenue. The owner, an applicant, is Catherine Perry, and she's under contract to buy this particular house. And she would like to get a variance to make it a 2-family, and there's some things in there that we'll talk about as we go through it. So, anybody who was here at the last meeting, if you've had an opportunity to review our meeting minutes, then what I'd like is a motion one way or the other. Approve, reject, or amend.
I'd love to, but I can't.
I'll make a motion that on the minutes from April, or excuse me, from June 21st, 2018,
We have a motion to do what?
to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Very good.
Abstain.
And we've got Mr. Baker, because he shirked his duty last time, he is abstained. All right, so, 2 items on the agenda. Here's how this process will work. I'll ask each applicant, when we get to that applicant, to get up, go over to the podium, state your name, your address, then describe what we're here to talk about and why you think you need relief from the zoning or the code as it is written. I take it you are Mr. King? Very good.
Thank you. Okay, my name's Todd King, and Fred said about my driveway. So, we're going for a wider driveway. In the area, it's not too unfamiliar. There's several driveways the same size or a little smaller, but up to it. And the driveway goes with a garage. It looks nice from the road. I send out letters to the neighbors, and I've received no objections yet. Matter of fact, a couple neighbors have been walking their dogs, and they've commented on it. That looks nice for a neighborhood. And me and my wife started out with the widening driveway. We'll take it down the road. So we have 2 grandchildren live with us, and in a couple years they'll be starting to drive. And just be easier than jockeying the cars out, in and out all the time. Just looking down the road a little bit. And it's nice to have, like, I have a utility trailer and the driveway's in already. Me or Barry were aware of code, especially if we had a garage, variance for my garage. If we were, we probably would have done it at the same time, which would have been a sensible thing to do. So, that's all I got to say about that.
All right, very good.
For your time.
No, that's all right. At this point, what I'll do is open it up to members of the board to ask questions. Do you know what your driveway should be? First of all, maybe I'll ask you that question.
Talk to town, it should be 26, I believe, 26 wide,
I think it's 24.
so 24.
Yeah. It's 12 feet, what the code allows is 12 feet for each stall of the garage. You get an additional 12 feet if you have a single-car garage for parking of utility vehicles. And if you have a 2-car garage, and you can have up to, the way it's written, 36 feet. So it would account for a 3-car garage.
Okay.
But the code would require or limit you only to 24 feet. Do you know how wide it is right now?
It's 29.
29 feet, okay.
What did the plans say? Well,
Well, the plans weren't really specific to the driveway width as much as they were to the construction of the house. Because this is the house that had caught fire, they raised the house, rebuilt it, and then they got the variance for the extra, for the larger garage. But the driveway, I mean, wasn't really part of the equation.
there was no view that showed the house in relation to the street?
Yeah.
That, yeah, but what did it say about the driveway?
Just showed a regular driveway. Actually, I think the plan showed the other driveway going around the back, the original driveway, but, so. It didn't say anything about, how wide the driveway was gonna be, just showed the regular drawings that you would normally have on any
Shouldn't
other.
the plans specify how wide the driveway should be?
Well, it depends what the plans are for. In this particular case, I received plans for the house and plans for the garage for the variance, but nobody thought about the driveway so much. And regardless of what size the driveway showed on the plan, what happened was the builder, who is aware of town code, assumed that we were similar to the town code. So even if it showed that driveway on the plans, he would assume, oh, well, I can still go a little bit further, would you like a wider driveway kind of thing. So the builder, when I called him on it, he apologized profusely because he said, I didn't even think to look at the village code because in the town, you can have almost as much of a driveway as you want.
You know it now.
Yes, he does.
So, Mr. King, I did walk by your house a couple weeks ago, but just refresh my memory. Is the driveway that you currently have in there, is it as wide as the current garage is?
It is a little wider than
It's a little wider, so the garage is 26, I'm assuming? Okay.
a little wider to allow for more traffic and such. And I see places in the village where people are parking on the grass because there's not enough room, so I thought it'd be a good idea. But
Yeah, there's some rules about that, but that's another.
I was gonna say, interesting comment, because they're parked on the grass because, well,
There's
yeah,
there's all
there's-
kinds of rules about
I
that.
remember that when my daughters were home, they just parked on the grass, but yeah, no.
Yeah, I've had a few of those myself.
And if you want to give me a list of the houses that are doing
I was
it,
gonna say, it's a lack of enforcement.
So in essence, you're asking for a variance of about 3 feet.
5.
5 feet?
Oh, yes, fine.
Do we know the other driveways in the neighborhood that are wider than?
to be honest with you, I don't know.
Well, I was just curious if they've come and gotten variances rather than just doing what they think.
This board has done one driveway variance
That's all I can remember.
in the last 5 or 6 or 7 years. Now, does that mean that there aren't 3-lane highways out in front of some houses?
Well, right,
There are.
people go and not get the permit and then just do whatever they
Right,
feel.
traditionally what was done was, there was maintenance of the 2 lanes at the road.
Mhm.
And then as it would go, they would veer out. Many of them would go down the side of the garage. That was usually used for trailer, boat, camper, something like that. But where they stopped it was they didn't take 36 feet out to the road.
Well, according to the code, you can take 36 feet to the road if it's a 3-stall garage.
That's correct.
And I know there's one on Hefner.
Or if you had a single car garage and you want to add
You can add up to 12 feet.
If your garage to the street was 36 feet, you could do that. Now, the reason, it says 36 feet, so if you set back further than 36 feet, then you would have to cut in one way or the other.
If somebody is gonna put in a new driveway, do they have to come for any kind of a permit, or are they just?
No, as long as they replace in kind,
Hmm?
as long as they replace in kind.
They take out the
Well,
existing
okay,
driveway.
But if they, let's say, gee, I'd like to add another lane, they don't need a permit? They can just do it?
Well, we're here because someone just did it. So,
Well, but.
I don't, well, okay, Bill, so there's 2 things that you need to understand. If somebody does it on a weekend, when I'm on vacation and I don't know about it, they get away with it, okay? If I find out about it and my neighbor calls me or some other neighbor calls me and says, hey, you need to look at this, and I find out about it, that's when I can do something about it. But the village does not require permits for driveways. And neither
Not
does
to,
the
not
town,
to
but
take
I-
out the existing one
Yeah.
and replace it the
No.
same width and size.
No, no, the only time that, we end up requiring a permit is when we end up here, when somebody wants to do something that's outside of the parameters of the code.
But the average homeowner may not be aware of the fact that
That's correct.
you can only replace in kind.
There's a lot of rules and regulations we have that the average homeowner is not aware of, including parking on the streets.
Website, man.
Well, but apparently contractors don't know that we have codes either.
I'm surprised at that. This was Dean?
No.
Or very room.
Okay.
So in essence, Mr. King, this is already in place.
Correct.
Um,
We went through the plan and decided where, how wide it was gonna be after the builder, and the day they put it in, that's when I heard about it.
Okay.
So while you happen to have the property to the south that would allow for it, and you, I wonder, and I always wonder these kind of things, even though we're not supposed to, we don't set precedent in any one case. Each case is individually, is evaluated on its own merit. But I wonder if I don't have enough room to go out the side of the garage. Do I then move it over into the front yard? And is that a practice?
Are you speaking hypothetically?
Well, one of the things that we have to do is we try to look at, because all we would do with this board is grant a variance. We grant a variance, you got blacktop 29 feet wide, and it's written into the records, and that variance will go with the house. And we think, all right, so he's gonna put a utility truck up by his garage or something, and, I don't know, maybe you start parking 4, 5, 6, 7 cars on a diagonal the entire length of the driveway. I never envisioned that happening. And so those are the kind of things that this board is charged with trying to evaluate and say, is there a good, there's a test in the code to go
Right,
through.
I'm telling you. As far as me and Wife had the house, plans of the house to be done so we can live there till.
Oh, no, I know that. I was here when you came in for the first variance.
Yeah, that's it. As far as we're there, none of that will happen.
I saw the house. You should live there for a long time.
That's our plans.
I have another question for Will. I noticed that you sent out letters to a lot of people. Our bylaws say they only have to send letters to 300 feet. And it looked like he was using a list with 500 feet.
Probably. What the contractor who put the driveway, he didn't put the driveway in, but the contractor who built the original house asked me for the same list he used when they applied for the variance for the garage. And that was before we had the 300 feet, so I just gave him the list and he used that.
So you didn't ask the people.
What's that?
You didn't really ask the people, you just, or mailed the letter to the people or anything.
Yeah, they mailed the
Just
letter.
used the list.
Yeah, they used this list to mail the letter to the people to notify them that this meeting was
Okay.
taking place on this day at this time. And in the letter, it states what the meeting was for. And there was a sign on the lawn.
This one there was.
How often does that list get updated? Because the reason I ask is that the owner of the house, 2 doors down, died. His wife is no longer living in the house. So that person is not, that particular resident did not get a letter.
If it's, let's see what,
Ely is the name.
oh, okay. I try to recommend to people that you write "Dear Resident" on a letter, rather than address.
Right, what was this?
"Dear Resident." That way you avoid any kind of situation like you mentioned. Well, if you mailed the letters, were any returned, Todd?
Not one.
Okay, then they got the letter. Because usually if it's, you'll get a return with that yellow sticker on it saying undeliverable. And there was plenty of time for him to receive the letter
So
returned
the
back.
letters go out, should go out to the resident,
Yes.
and not a name?
Well, it would be better that way, because, for instance, if the owner lives in California, but he's renting the house, right? If you put the owner's name on it, the resident that's living there might go, this isn't for me, right? But if you write "Dear Resident," everybody gets it. Like valued customer, it's right up there with valued customer.
All set. Any other questions from folks here? Go ahead.
The entrance to the driveway is gonna be 29 wide.
29 feet wide is the request on the variance.
I recall, I forget what street it is, I don't think it's Fuller, might be. We did the corner house there, we had that same issue.
Yeah.
And they made like a piano shaped
Mm-hmm.
driveway.
Yep.
So it was too wide at the bottom, and about 3 feet up, it started to curve and became
Right. Right.
They're not doing that here, they're just,
The request before us is for it to be 29 feet wide from the street up to the garage, past the garage, where does it go?
To the garage.
To the garage.
okay.
We can always ask, we are free to ask if they would consider a modification.
Good land planes on it.
Huh?
Good land planes on it.
Well,
And there are other neighbors that have that three
There are
lane entrance.
3 neighbors in my track that we noticed.
Okay.
fully 30 feet right out to the road?
Yes.
Most of the ones that I've seen stop short of the road. There are a fair number of them out there. I live over on Holly.
Okay. Well, Barry gave me a couple of driveways that
Okay.
he wrote down sizes. and
Where is
addresses.
the very end of Hefner? It's a 3-stall garage and that goes all the way to the street.
Okay, but that's a 3-stall garage,
Right.
36 feet, up to the maximum 36 feet is allowed within the code. Would you consider modifying it?
Billy wishes to.
Usually your statement is that wouldn't be my first choice, but,
I was thinking that, but
okay.
it's, like I said, I have to apologize, I have no idea about the code. I've been up to the builder to know the code, why not?
So would I.
That's what you paid him for.
Michael?
This driveway already exists, you all understand that?
Yeah, we do.
So because of the modification, you're talking about, somebody with a jackhammer going out there,
They can saw cut it.
Saw cut it, yeah.
or whatever.
That's pretty easy.
All right, while you guys are thinking through this, just read the village code for variances. Area variances. It says the board may, to grant area variances from the area or dimensional requirements of this chapter. In making the determination, the zoning board of appeals shall consider the benefit to the applicant if the variance is granted as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. In making such determination, the board shall also consider whether, 1, an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood, or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting the area variance. The benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance. The requested area variance is substantial. The proposed variance will have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district. And last and not least, the alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the Board of Appeals, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of the area variance.
Anybody in the audience?
Well, we haven't closed our discussion yet. Are we all set here? We've asked all the questions we need to. All right. Then what I'm going to do is close the board's questioning of the applicant. I'm going to leave it open to the general public. Anybody want to speak for or against this particular application?
Rick
Yes, sir.
Waller, 20 Elm Street. I drove by there today and looked. There seems to be quite a bit of space to the south, which is still on Todd's property, I believe, beyond the driveway from the way the grading looks. And so I see no real objection to it because I don't think he has gone to the width where he's infringing on the neighbor in any way.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll close that portion. Then what we've got here is we have a couple, three options. If you're confused about what we can do, you can always ask for executive session for legal advice and legal advice only. You can make a motion to approve, or we can have a motion to deny.
I just have one question. Do we know what the edge of the driveway is to your property line?
My existing driveway was closer to the property line than the driveway I have now. It's a front load driveway. Before my driveway went to the side, I was probably about 3-4 foot from the property line, and it turned right into my driveway.
What are you asking, Michael?
Well, I'm just curious if, Rick said that he seems to be farther away than to the property to the south. I'm just curious on where the edge of the driveway is compared to his property line, and is it 10 feet, is it 5 feet?
It's,
To me, it's more on, it's not gonna be a detriment to the neighbor to the south, but.
We allow 3 feet, is how far it has to be in our code.
Right.
I know it's much further.
Now, this did or did not go before the planning board?
No, it didn't. It didn't have to.
Why?
This is just a simple variance. I mean, when the planning board gets involved, we're talking more aesthetics or, I don't know. If you want to get down to bare basics, why I make the decision that it did go to planning, because number one, the buck stops here. Number two, it's a driveway. He's not a structure, it's nothing, visually impairing in that sense.
Okay. Should we have an answer? All right.
Other later.
Since it didn't go to the planning board, make a motion that the zoning board be declared the lead agency in this matter and it is a type 2 action under seeker.
Second motion.
Okay, we have a motion out there and we have it seconded. That's type 2. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, we've taken care of that. We're the lead agency for seeker. Now what we're looking for is a motion for or against it.
So, I'd like to make a motion to grant a 5-foot variance on this driveway.
Okay.
A second.
Larry has a motion out there to grant a 5-foot variance,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Baker. We'll go through here one by one. Mr. O'Connor?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm going to vote no. So, by a vote of 4 to 1, you don't have to do a thing. Keep your driveway. Just the way it is. Thank you.
Tell Barry to visit the village office.
All right. And you're free to go. You don't have to stay or you can, whatever. Next up, do we have Catherine, Perry here?
Yes, hi. Catherine Perry, 867 Washington Avenue, Rochester, New York. And I also live in Florida part of the year, so it's 1820 Sanford, Florida. I would like to purchase the home on South Avenue. And it's been determined as a single-family home right now, but it was a multi-dwelling before it sat on the market for more than 6 months. So I would like to ask the board to grant me, to bring it back to a multifamily. I would like to live in half of it, renovate it. I have a lot of experience on renovating homes. Renovate a lot of homes in Webster, and I also own rental property in Somerville. And also I've owned property in Florida. I just sold a home in Florida. That's why I'd like to invest in Webster.
Very good. All right, I'm gonna start out asking a couple of questions here, and maybe Don or Will can help us. Just from my observation, and I didn't go peer into the windows, it appears to be built as a two-family dwelling. So it's got walls in between it, there's
The
no...
address is 92, 94.
Right, there's no shared, you don't go through the bathroom to get to the other apartment or anything like that. Okay, so if it's a built two-family, we're here because after 6 months or 1 year? After 6 months, a property that isn't conforming to the district that is built in reverts back to or becomes, the only use you can do in that is what's allowed in that district. This is an R1 district, therefore single-family homes are the only thing, along with churches, schools, and some other things that are listed. So the reason we need to have a variance to allow the use of the two-family home as a two-family home is because it's been vacant for the designated period of time. All right, now, when we grant a variance, the variance gets recorded into the record someplace. I've always assumed that there's a secret file in the office someplace, but it forever stays with that property. And where I'm going with this is, suppose it goes 6 months again, somewhere down the road, but we've already granted it a variance to bring it into conformance with the district. Do they need another variance, or will that stay, because the one we just granted here for their driveway, that stays with that property forever, as I understand it. So I guess what I'm asking is, if it went vacant again for 6 months or a year, do they have to come back and ask us because it's a non-conforming use then at that point? I don't know.
My question would be, if you grant the variance, does that make it a conforming use then for the R1 district?
My understanding was,
No, I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
Typically, some codes are written, and the law generally refers to like a pre-existing non-conforming use that predated the zoning ordinance. The village code isn't written that way, it's just non-conforming use. So even though it's got a variance, if it remains empty for 6 months in the future, I think the non-conforming nature is abandoned, and they have to get another variance. That's really neither here nor there. We're like, that's not the facts as they exist today, so why are we worried about what might happen 20 years from now? I'm confused.
it was a good point to educate, I thought, the board on where
Well,
this
all right,
thing was.
I guess there's a
We're all putting it in service. We're putting it in service points for this, man. Come on, help me out here.
I think the nice thing is Ms. Perry says she's gonna live in half of it, so it'll be as long as she's there, it's not gonna get discontinued, because at least half of it's gonna be occupied. right?
So-
Yeah, it
so
probably had
is
about
that
20
sti-
years, so that's probably about right.
Is that still your intention? to-
Yes, yes, my daughter is talking about coming back from Colorado, she might be in the other half. And I've got a girlfriend who may want the other half, so I already have interest, upstanding people.
So in essence here, what happened is that this was, it's zoned for a single-family house. It was, at some point in time, I saw that there was 2 meters on the side, so there was 2 residents paying, at least for the electric bill. And so it was, there's no access from one side to the other. I know it has 2 entrances.
Not that I'm aware of, I've never been in the house, however, I see the 2 entrances there.
And is the house to the south of it one that is, that's a two-family also?
It is. Oh,
Is-
sorry.
That's all right, that's fine. Is it currently as
I
two-family?
don't know.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that somebody just
Right.
moved into it recently, in the last 4 or 5 months, I'd say,
Mhm.
and I wasn't sure what the status of that house was.
Is that the one on that corner?
No,
No, it's
south of
the other
it.
side.
It's a very similar design.
Oh,
It is.
oh, yes, 98, 96, 98, I think that, yeah. I think that also would be two-family as well.
So, Mr. White, there, in Webster Village, if one, you can have absentee landlords that own homes, is that correct? Sure. Yeah. So, the only reason I bring this up as an interest is that when I moved here back in the 80s, and I think that's why that idea of, if you left the house for 6 months, it reverted back, is because a lot of people were chopping up homes, and there were many rentals. In fact, the person who sold me almost made me swear on the fact that I wouldn't do that. And I obviously did not. But I think that law, that regulation that went into this code because of what was happening, try to put some sort of resistance to, that they wouldn't have these absentee landlords, and that if somebody wanted to move in and put it into a single family, then they would at some point in time turn it back into a rental, two-family rental. But that doesn't seem to be the case here. I mean, I'm sure
I
that,
don't know what the history to that section of
Yeah.
the zoning ordinance is.
Yeah.
Every zoning ordinance has to have a section that deals with pre-existing non-conforming uses.
okay,
Because you can't take away an existing use of a property by just legislating.
okay.
So
That's-
I don't know how old that house is. It's probably pretty old, right? So if
1990.
it was originally, now, and I don't know if it was originally built as a one or a two-family, but
Yeah,
if it was converted to a two-family way back in the 30s or something like that, it would predate the existing zoning ordinance. So you have to always,
okay, that's what I mean.
so I'm not, I doubt that this section was specifically directed at absentee landlords. Because there's all sorts of pre-existing non-conforming uses, not just single-family versus two-family, but there could be commercial uses in a residential district, there could be, residential uses in an industrial district, all sorts of things that, because before zoning ordinances were adopted, when there wasn't any zoning, people would build stuff wherever, because there were no rules. So that's when municipalities smartened up and said, maybe we should start controlling this.
How long has this property been vacant?
Right.
Okay, I want to say 3-4 years? Somewhere in there? Has it been longer than that?
Because I was there today, and on the back doors, there's some notice about winterizing the house. Don't winterize it unless you check with someone. That notice was dated September of 2014. So I would assume it's been vacant,
Pretty good, 4 or 5 years.
okay, so, long time,
Yeah,
okay.
that's correct. I remember actually sending the owner a letter and talking to the owner when there was an owner. It was
Is that-
shortly after that.
Have we had, at some point in the past, had any kind of a variance on this property?
Not that I'm aware of.
I remember something about this property, but how far back, I
Yeah,
don't know.
before my time, probably when you were a young spry man, maybe.
Well, the home was built in 1900, and the cabinets in both kitchens are metal. So it looks like if it was converted to a multifamily, it might have been in the 50s. I mean, it looks as if it might have been originally a single family, but it was a long time ago. I think it would probably be more work to convert it to a single than it would to update the double at this time. Just getting the kitchen out, rerouting the walls and anything else. But I mean, I'm mostly going in, taking down all the square ceiling tiles, putting drywall up, moldings, replace the windows. I'd like to take the siding off, restore all the woodwork on the porch and have that replicated, or any that's rotten, sand the floors, redo the porch, whatever, it needs the floorboards and things. So it'll be pretty. I even have the wicker set that my family's been telling me to get rid of for 25 years, and I keep telling them I'm not getting rid of it, it's on my porch. So, and I have done a lot of renovations, yeah.
So at this point, you
Probably
are
15
not
homes.
the owner of this property.
I am not, I have the purchase offer and it's been accepted.
Is it pending this board's approval?
It is, yes. Yeah.
Will, did the planning board meet on this? And you made that decision too?
I did.
I probably would have made a different one. But, okay. So we have no input from the planning board. Very good. Other questions for this young lady?
I have one question.
Yes,
So this contract that you have is contingent on this variance.
yes.
And is that the only thing that may stop the contract from going through? I mean, that's kind of a personal thing, you really don't have to tell me the answer to that, but I just wonder
Well,
if there's anything.
I don't really need a 3,000 square foot home for myself. So
Okay.
I wouldn't want to, I don't flip homes, I keep them and I live in them or I rent them,
Thank you.
yeah. I mean, everything's there for a multifamily, so it doesn't really seem, I mean, somebody could certainly convert it back, I don't, no reason why they couldn't, but
Maybe here for a driveway, but I'm not
might be a
sure
few
about
more years. Oh, I've got a list of repairs here,
that. Okay,
but, you know, I'd like to do it right, you know,
understandable.
yeah.
Other questions?
And this is my full-time job, so.
Very good.
I'm not part-time, pardon?
What do you do?
It is, I used to be a mechanical designer, and I've been, well, my first rental home, well, my very first was like 1987, but then I didn't buy rental until 2005, so now it's been my full-time job for almost 9 years. And I support myself on it, so,
I have a question.
I'm a single
Well,
person.
Well, if we grant this variance, and do we need, somebody need some plans, you know, since we're now, it's gonna be we need, for example, 2 parking spots per rental unit. Does somebody need to develop plans showing how the parking's gonna work?
Well, there's a 2-car garage, so I was kind of hoping that it, I mean, no, well, it looks like it's 2 cars.
I don't know whether
The driveway, garage, accessory structure, or otherwise would remain whatever is allowed in the R196.
I would imagine, so yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is,
Okay.
it was a two-family, nothing changed with the driveway or the garage, and it was used as a two-family with that particular setting, so. If any changes, if, you know.
So no additional plans need to come before any board then?
Well, it depends, if, you know, Ms. Perry decides to come to me and says, you know, I want to change something, that's when we sit down and discuss it. If it's within code, no. If it's not, then yes.
Also, at what point should letters be sent out to the neighbors?
I did that,
Hmm?
I did do that.
You did do?
Yes, I did. I made the copies today, I mean, I did it, but I made the copies for the
Because
board today.
we showed no evidence that happened.
Well, I got, well,
Okay,
it notarized, and I have the addresses here, and I've got a copy for everybody.
okay, no, it was done.
It's fine.
That's all he was looking for, is that it was done.
Yeah, sorry, I should have.
It wasn't in
That's
our
all right.
packet, so it's not. Okay, that's good.
Other questions?
I know, sir.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll close this portion then. Thank you very much, Kathy.
Thank you.
What I want to do is open this up to the general public. Anyone who wants to speak for or against this project, please stand up, tell us who you are, and state your opinion.
Okay, hi, my name is Doug Pucci, and this is my wife Patty. We live at 82, which is the corner house to the north of you guys.
Yes.
So we're interested, and we did get a letter.
Yes.
The system works, doesn't it?
We did get a letter.
I like that.
Thanks for hearing me. It's more of an interest than anything else. The property's been vacant for 4+ years. We know the bank has had it. We know at the beginning, the village was cutting the lawn, or the town was cutting the lawn there, charging back on taxes to do that. Finally, I think the bank got a little bit smart, hired a landscaping company, but that's all they did. I think about a year ago or so, I saw a bunch of guys pull up with a bunch of dumpsters and put a new roof on it. I work as a volunteer with the Webster PD. I'm a peace officer. There was a report of shots fired right in between our two houses a couple years ago. And we had to clear the house. Okay, so when the police showed up, they went through the house, and it was a mess. I mean, there was water all over the place and stuff like that. So we knew it was in really, really bad shape. So we're thrilled that somebody is going to take an interest in this house. We're concerned about the absentee owner situation. We know that sometimes that might cause issues, especially with the tenants, whether they're paying the rent or not paying the rent, whether they're not taking care of the property the way they should be in the eyes of the lease, and stuff like that. But with you living there, it's great. It's a great opportunity for somebody to come in and fix the house and make it look well. Because if you go down the street to the south, you're finding at least 2 empty houses. And I mean, this has got to change. It's a beautiful village, and to get South Avenue into that mode, and I mean, the Maplewood guy stepped up and bought the yellow house across the street, and did a great job. He fixed it all up. He's got great tenants in there. His men are there all the time, cutting the grass, doing all the things that they're supposed to be doing. And I'm sure it's going to be the same in the wintertime. So that's great stuff. I mean, that's what we need in the village. Is to keep boosting it up, keep it clean, keep it neat, keep it new, keep it fresh. So it's good news, and so we appreciate you stepping up. I have a question regarding the renovation. In that I'm pretty sure there's a lot of work that needs to be done in there. I'm not totally sure. I'm not a contractor or anything like that, but
I've seen worse.
I bet, yeah. I worry about the siding. I know the siding is asbestos. It appears to be, okay? So if it's got to be mitigated, or if you're going to move the siding at all, I'd like to make sure that somebody is aware of that and you're taking the proper precautions.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, as far as the remediation goes on the asbestos, if she's gonna remove that quantity off, and that's what I understood you were gonna do.
Right.
It's all gonna be done under a permit, at least with the regulatory authorities. I don't know if you get involved, but I know that, I think the DC or the Department of Health.
Department of Labor,
Department of Labor, okay.
Code Rule 56.
But that's all aside. I mean, that's all aside. I mean, my wife and I showed a real, an interest in knowing what was going on with the property. I mean, we have, we have a patch of grass, this wide between us. So it's interesting to us to know what's going on. So when we saw the letter, we said, yeah, let's show up, find out what's going on.
Well, I'm glad you came, and I'm glad you spoke up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. So we know that the planning board didn't review this, so there's only one option.
I'll make a motion that the zoning board of appeals be declared the lead agency in this matter, and that is a type 2 action under secret.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. O'Connor, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Very good, so we're the lead agency. Now we need a motion for, a motion against.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Michael has made a motion to approve and seconded by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
Good luck.
Good luck and thank you.
We can't wait to
Be
see it.
proud. Thank you. I should
All right.
have before and after pictures for you, I thought about it.
Will, coming up in September.
Coming up in September. I don't have anything yet.
Good, because I'm going to be on vacation. Would you please keep it that way?
I'll make sure that.
Vacation tomorrow. Don't take any.
No.
Let's see, if we got anything else, by the way, just a curiosity question. Do you guys know what that thing is?
No.
Down at the expressway ramp?
That's gonna be a gazebo for pets. No, it's gonna be I think we're putting our electronic sign there, right?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I think is going on.
There's an electronic sign going there?
Yeah, a digital sign like the firehouse, but only bigger.
Really?
It's a thing right off the road.
What's that? Yeah,
People can take it right off the road. Makes a lot of sense.
people going off the expressway bridge trying to read that.
Well, so I told Will earlier tonight that what they should have done to generate traffic on the website was that they should have had a contest. Tell us what
What
it
it
is. My wife thought it was a bike stand. Somebody else thought they were gonna sell ice cream.
Well, if you notice that area that's right next to the gazebo, it has the two pillars on it, I think the sign is gonna fit right in between those two pillars.
I think we have water there.
Yeah.
Somebody
Probably.
somebody else said it was gonna be a bike rental station for the bike path. That would have been a good
That
idea.
would have been a good idea.
Yes,
All right, thank you very much. All right, if nothing else coming out of you guys, keep in mind, we're coming up on the end of the year, in the first quarter of the year, our wonderful village staff reminds us how we are doing on training. If you haven't gotten yours, there are multiple opportunities in the fall. Thank you.
I'll pass on dates when.
Right, okay, and other than that, no meeting next month so far, but will let us know, and I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nobody. Thank you very much, we're done.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time on this board, too. I know it's, you gotta cut out a part of your life to do this.
Hi.
Larry Hall.
Oh, okay.
Lives down the street.
Oh, no.
Goodness, I can see it. I'll be around.